Okay, so let's start with the basic configuration for finance. So you might be aware that this is the home screen for mainly the end user activities wherein we post, we
Mhm.
create the master data and we create the transaction data. And then we have the backend transaction code, which is S-Pro. So with S-Pro, we access the backend data. So now you have SAP reference IMG. You can either click on SAP reference IMG or you can click on F5 and then it will take you to the backend screen. So this is where the main configuration takes place. Okay. So the starting point is your enterprise structure, which basically is your main baseline configuration where it starts from. So it's a structure that is important here. So what we'll do is we'll define a company first, and then we define the company code. Now, what is the difference in company and company code? What is the significance? Any idea?
Uh, I know about like company code is something which we assign to the company
Mm-hmm.
so that like it is easier to access throughout the like during the like when we create invoices or any other end user process while doing it, because for one company you can have different multiple company codes. So for
Mm-hmm.
example, if there's Google and Google operates in different different states, I would say. It's just an example. So
Mm-hmm.
it every state can have a different company code for for particularly Google, so that it is easier to like you can track different states separately through their company codes. You getting what I'm saying? Is it
Yes,
making sense?
understood. Yes. Now, in this case, we can have separate companies created for each company code as well. Although it is a single entity, but we can have different company codes and companies created. So let me just check the available company code here. Mhm. So, the main difference where it makes it huge impact is now, suppose if you have 10 different company codes, you can either have single company assigned to all of them, or you can have 10 different companies assigned to 10 company codes. Okay, both are fine. But while you are performing asset transactions,
Mm-hmm.
in finance, that's totally fine. But in asset accounting, what happens when you are trying to perform an asset transfer? So at that time, the transfer between different company codes mainly rely on the company assigned to them. Okay, if the company is different for both
Mm-hmm.
company codes, in that case, those are non-affiliated company codes. Okay, if the company is same for both, then those are affiliated company codes. So the transfer has an impact based on the company that is assigned to the company code. If it is same, then it is affiliated company code and the transfer variant based on which are you aware of transfer variant?
Transfer variant, no.
Okay. So what we'll do is we'll perform end-to-end configuration for finance and all the activities which are related to finance and then move forward so that you get the idea of FI module as well.
Mm-hmm.
So Um, transfer variant is nothing but a configuration based on which the transfer takes place. Okay, while you are transferring one asset to one asset to another asset, be it single company code between this in this within the same company code or between two different company codes. So based on that variant, the transaction types are picked up. Okay, so if you have different companies, then you will have to use intercompany transfer. The transaction code is different, the process is different. If you have the same company assigned to both company codes, in that case, the transaction code is different and the standard existing transfer variants can be used. So there, people who are not who have never performed any asset to asset transfer, they may not get the difference. Probably they are not aware the difference, the significance of, having the same company or the different company assigned. So let's go ahead and create the company. So I'll just give the company and let's give this as test company. I'll assign the same here and we'll give the basic details. Let's say Delhi, country is IN. Of course, you might be aware that if you want to search for a country, you can click on search.
Mm-hmm.
Wherever the search icon pops up, you can have a quick look up here with whatever countries that are available. You can also do F4. So this will give you the list here. Then language is, of course, EN, currency is IN. Enter and save. Now here, this is the transport request that gets generated. Now with this transport request, this saves the configuration and this allows you to move the configuration between the two landscapes. Like you mentioned, you have sandbox. Suppose if you want to move something from sandbox to development, you can use the transport request and further from development to quality and eventually production. Now let's create one transport request. Now, transport request naming convention should always be either with your user ID or your company name. Suppose if you are working for a client and you have different user IDs for different modules. So finance has different, MM has different, SD has different. So better to use your user ID test. You can give then FI or you can give the company name. Let's say if we are ABC company, then ABC FI, then a brief description about what configuration you're going to store in this. And for certain clients, what they do is they also ask for a ticket number. They have to
Mm-hmm.
create a ticket. It could be an internal ticket for, this. They may have certain hierarchies wherein you need to take approval in order to get the TR. So you have to raise a request. Once that is approved, you will have a ticket number, and then that ticket number should be used in your transport request. So it depends client to client how they have the transport request creation approval process. So for some clients, for my client, for one of the client, the transport request is completely taken care by the basis consultant. We do not have any control there, except for yeah, we do not have any control from
Yeah,
creation
even
to
same
movement.
for like our clients. So we can generate this number, but the movement of these TRs are like taken care by basis.
Yeah. So, yeah, like I said, it is client to client.
Yeah.
So for one of our client, the creation and the movement is completely taken care by the business consultant. Now, we need to provide the description to them. They will create the transport request. Why? Because the reason is there were many transport requests that were generated unnecessarily. And at times certain transport requests were moved without any approval. So then later we introduced the creation of a control over the transport request and then the movement as well. So the movement is completely based on approval. It cannot be moved unless the client approves. We can only move until the quality. Okay. So sometimes some clients prefer the client a ticket number in the description, followed with a brief description. Let's say configuration for 7010. Okay, let's say CC, and then you should add the date as well, and never miss the target client here. At times, if by chance this is left empty, then in that case you will not be able to move this transport request to the subsequent system, like from development to quality. So always maintain the target client as well, and then save it. So this is the number that has been generated. All your configuration will be saved in this transport request. And it is always advisable to have a single transport request for all the relevant configurations. Let's say if you're doing a rollout, I hope what a rollout project is.
No. What
Okay,
do you-
so rollout project. So you have never been a part of rollout project?
No, I
Okay.
this is my
So,
first job.
okay.
Yeah.
So rollout project is like you have existing set of configuration. Let's say you have an existing company code, maybe 1000 in your client. Now they are extending another company code, maybe 9000.
Hmm.
Okay. So when they are creating 9000 and they have asked to use the same chart of accounts, same chart of depreciation, maybe some other set of configurations, they need the same set of configurations. So what we will do is we will take reference of existing company,
Hmm.
existing configuration and extend it to the new one. We can assign the same chart of accounts. Chart for depreciation could be different. That is not a problem. Now controlling area could be the same one that is assigned to the previous one. So we are just extending the existing configuration that is already there. It's like implementation, but implementation with reference. In implementation, greenfield implementation, we do not have any existing data. Whereas in this rollout, it's a brownfield wherein we already have a set of configuration available and we are just extending it to the new company.
It's just like copying every part of the configuration and extending it to the new company
Yes,
code.
yes. Certain configurations or maybe certain parameters or maybe uh, master data level, we will have to create it separately. Like number ranges can be copied, but those are company code specific. So you have to extend it to the new company code. Your GL accounts should be copied to the new company code. Then business places you have to create based on the company code you have to create. You should not copy the business place and assign the same one. You have to create a new business place and assign it. So like that, various other configurations are there which are specific to the company code, and you have to create new ones. Like additional example would be tax codes. So tax codes should be created based on the company code.
Okay.
Now we'll create the company code, edit company code data. So this means that the screen is already locked. Do you know what this means?
Yeah, I think someone else is using
Yes.
it
So how
long
can I access this? Now it is only in
by
display mode.
asking someone to close that. The person who has opened it.
Mhm. Okay. Now in the
Is there
practice
any
system,
other sense, like, is there any other way also? Like, if someone has already opened the screen and I want.
yes, at times. Now this should not be done in a live system
Mhm.
unless maybe the other user might have you access the screen but not
Maybe I have,
using it anymore. So
yeah,
in that case, what we can do is we can go to a transaction code called SM12. Have you ever used
I
this?
have heard this. Like, it's basically kicking someone out of that
Yes. So
place.
what
Yeah.
we'll do is we'll select search. So now we don't have any sessions here available. Why? Because it is based on this user ID. So
Mm.
what we'll do is we'll click search, and we got the list of uh, users who are accessing these data. So someone is using VBAK, someone is using business partner, vendor, company code. You have different set of screens opened. So this is the one wherein this particular user is accessing T001, which is the table for company code data. So are you aware of tables?
Yes, a bit of it.
Okay. Okay. So T001, have you ever accessed this table?
No, I have access these tables BUT 000 LFA1 and AC
Okay.
Luca,
Okay.
KFA1, all of these.
KFA1.
KNA1, I think it's KN.
Yeah. I wondered if that is a new
Yeah,
table
no,
that
no,
I'm not
sorry.
aware of.
I got,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's
KNA1.
for a customer, right?
Yes.
KNA1.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we will delete this session. Now we'll exit the screen and then try to access it again. Select edit company code data, select new entries. Now it is allowing us to make the changes.
Hmm.
New entries, let's give the company code 7010. I'll give the same description. Test company, let's say its city is Delhi, country is IN, currency INR, and language is English. Enter and save. So I'll enter the same details again. It's a company, it's test company. You don't have Delhi here. Yeah, Delhi.
So when is the new TR created? So for example, we are doing it now, right? So after when the system is closed and we do it again, we start from again, then
Mhm.
that's when the new TR is created. Or like if we are doing something at the same time, so it will be going into the same TR.
If you are in the same screen,
Hmm.
you mean you want to create a new tier, or you mean at what point of time does the system prompt you for a tier?
No, I mean that, for example, now we are doing this config, right? We defined we are like defining company code. So, like for define company, we got a TR, right? For second time when we created company code, we got the TR. And now, for example, this screen closes and you get logged out from the system, and then you log in again, and then you start doing, like, for example, define business area, the third step. So will it be giving me new TR number, or it will go into the same number, same.
You have to select the transport request. You can select the same transport request. Now, like I said, if depends on the situation. If you have a requirement of only creating a company and company code, that's it. You create one tier. If you have a separate requirement, maybe, at a
Hmm.
later stage, you have received another requirement, and maybe that is not supposed to be moved on along with the company, then you can create another TR and save the business area into it. It's not like you have to have it depends on the situation actually and the requirement. But one of my if I can so I just now I just got a flashback. So what happened in my first job is um since I was new to it, what I
Hmm.
did is the my boss had asked me to perform certain set of configurations. So since I was doing it for the first time, my first job, my first configuration in the live system. So what I did is I created a new transport request for every set of configuration that I did. Let's say if I created a company, one transport request, I created company code, another transport request.
Oh,
So like that, I had created a bunch
multiple.
of transport requests for every configuration that I did. So that was completely a blunder. That is not the right way to do it. And you should always save the create a single transport request for all the relevant configurations that you do. Okay. If you are creating a new company code and then you have to create business area and assign to it. You have to create chart of accounts and assign to it. You have to create controlling area and assign to a company code. It has to be saved in a single transport request. It's not, so you're not supposed to create a new transport request every time.
Okay.
But if the requirement is different, let's say I want to make certain change in the document type level, and then there is some other requirement that is supposed to be something at the company code level. So in that case, I'll create two different transport requests because those are not correlated.
Okay.
Yeah.
It depends on the requirement, basically, like whatever the
Yes.
client wants, or maybe the whatever is the protocol.
Yes. But if the configuration is relevant, correlated to each other, then always better to save it in a single transport request.
Okay.
Yeah. Now it doesn't make any sense. Like now we have created company code data. Now assignment of this at this stage as well, it will prompt me to uh, save it in a TR, right? So it doesn't make any sense that I save it in a different TR, right?
Can you please go back and like actually I'm making notes, so I'm just
Sure.
yeah.
So initial path is enterprise structure definition. Under that, financial accounting, company code. Okay, we are just creating basic configuration as of now. Later, we'll add a few additional configurations as and when needed.
Okay.
So this is definition. So
Yeah,
definition
that's
assign.
that's what I've written. No, the part which you were going on.
Sorry.
No, the second, like we have done this, right? I have made the notes of it.
Hmm.
I just want to know the part you were going to tell me.
Yeah, the assignment part.
The assignment part, yeah.
Yeah. So we need to assign the company to the company code. So what I mentioned is regarding the transport request, it doesn't make any sense to have a separate transport request for definition and then a separate transport request for the assignment. So, like I said, these are correlated configurations, right? So we need to save it in a single TR. Then you execute the company and the company code assignment. And what we'll do is we'll search. So search, you can select position button and give the company code. Else, if you need a shortcut for this, you can use F7 along with Shift. Sure. So Shift plus F7 gives you the position pop-up. So you don't need to directly go to position and type in. You can just click Shift F7, 7010. I'll give you one more shortcut that is very useful, convenient.
Mhm.
Just allow me a minute. So 7010 will be my company that will be assigned to 7010 company code. Select enter. Now save. So you can see that it is prompting me for a transport request, which I'm supposed to save in the same transport request. If there is by chance some other transport request here, maybe some other random number. Now in that case, if I want to see, always be careful while saving a configuration in a transport request. Why? Because if you're in a development client and you have so many transport requests created by other users as well. So if they have logged in and they have save their configuration in a transport request. Now while you are trying to save something else, it will give
Mhm.
you the same transport request which they might have created. Okay, so randomly we should never blindly save the configuration, assuming that it's our own transport request that might have popped up. So always cross verify whether this is your relevant transport request. If not, then click on own request and look for your transport request here. So this is the one which we had created. Double click, it will automatically come here. Select continue. Now the
But we cannot assign random numbers to transport, right? We cannot.
random, no, we cannot. I just gave you an example, like it could be some other number that has come
Okay.
up.
Okay.
Yeah. So now what we have done is created company, created company code and assigned the company code to the company.
Yeah.
Okay. Then next, what we'll do is we'll go with financial accounting. So under financial accounting, it contains the global settings. Global settings are like the settings which define the parameters for based on which we are performing the postings, what is a fiscal year, in which period you are allowed to post, field status variance, etc. So under this financial global settings, we'll have ledgers. Under ledgers, we'll go to fields. We have field status variant. Are you aware of field status variant?
Field status variant. Yeah, I have. Is it in the when we create GL?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, are you aware what is the purpose of this? Like
No,
we do assign it to the GL account, but what is the purpose behind it?
no, I'm not really.
Okay, so define field status variant will execute this. So the main purpose of this field status variant is to control the parameters while you're posting a document. So you might be aware that any document that we post is divided into two parts. Just give me a minute, please. I'm getting a call. Yeah. So you might be aware that any document that we post is divided into two parts, right? The header
Hmm.
and the line item.
Yeah.
So the fields that are available while we are posting any document, let's say we are in. So I was talking about a shortcut. So let's say if you are in, you have clicked here and the cursor is here, and
Hmm.
you want to go to the command field here. You have to drag your cursor to the command field. But instead, if you want to use only the keyboard, you can do Control and then forward slash. So if I press Control and forward slash, it will directly take me to the command field. Now, if I want to access
Control forward.
slash.
What is forward? Forward as in
Forward
P.
slash the question mark slash or the question mark.
Control and slash.
Yeah, forward slash.
Okay.
Yeah, so if I press control and forward slash, it will directly take me to the command field here, and I can give the transaction code. So you might be aware slash n is to exit the screen, slash o is to open a new session,
Hmm.
slash nex is to close or completely log out from the system. If you give slash o and then the transaction code, it will open up a new window with the transaction code which you have given. And control N is also for the same purpose. Control N is also for the new window that we want to open here. Now, if you want to maybe
That's.
you want to close this session, so
Mm-hmm.
what you can do is you can press Alt space. It will open this particular tab and you can select close. Also, another option is if you want to maybe go to
How do
document.
you memorize these shortcuts? I think I'll be very confused to memorize all of
Yeah, you can make note, and when you practice, you will get habituated to it. So it's very convenient for me. I don't use my cursor to go here. I use control forward slash. And if I want to close this session, I use Alt space and I press C here. You can see that every tab here has an underlined alphabet here. You can see document underlined with D, edit underlined with E,
Yeah.
G, A, S, V, Y. Okay, so what you can do is you can access Alt
Hmm.
D, Alt E, Alt G, Alt
Okay.
A, Alt S, like that. And further, within this drop down, you want to access maybe change
Hmm.
or maybe post or display. You can see further, you can all the options are being underlined with a single alphabet, right? So if I press Alt D, it will Alt D and then plus D, it will take you to the display screen.
Okay. Alt D plus D.
Yes, but don't go by, don't write down Alt D plus D. You need to see why, because there are so many options, right? So many
Yeah.
fields are there. So if you write Alt D plus D, then you will have to note down all the C, D, P, etc.
No, no,
So
I'm not noting. I'm just
yes, yeah.
because I will get very confused.
Yes, just know what you can note down is how to access this. So Alt
Yeah, yeah.
will open the first tab, Alt E will take you to the next one, or maybe if you just press Alt, you can just do left or right
Yeah, yeah,
indicator
yeah. Hmm.
like that. And if you want to close this session, you can press Alt space. So it will open this particular tab, this icon on the top left. So it opens Alt space. You can select C Or if you want to stop, you can select S. You can, if you want to open a new session, you can select G.
Hmm.
So it will open the new session. And if I want to
So
close, I'll
Alt
select
G.
Alt
Continue.
space and then G.
Okay.
Yeah, Alt space C is close. Alt space C is close like this.
Okay. Alt space C is closing that. Okay.
Yes. So we were discussing about field status variant. So the purpose of field status variant is to control the fields, whether you want to make them as mandatory or optional. So this is one of the screens wherein we post a JV. So let's say if you want to make the reference field mandatory, okay, or the document header text. So how you can there are various ways of making this field as mandatory. But if you want to go by the GL account, or if you want to make some other field as mandatory, let's say if it is line item level, you want to make assignment mandatory or text
Hmm.
mandatory, all these fields. So what you can do is based on the GL account, the field status variant is being picked, right?
Hmm.
So those parameters are controlled through field status variant. So whatever group that we assign, now what I'll do is I'll just copy any existing one. Let's say I'll copy 1000 and I will create for my company code 7010. Okay, I'll give the name as field status variant 7010. Now some companies um, assign might use the same field status variant for all the company codes they create, or they can have separate field status variants for every company code that they create. If they want to have different set of parameters for each company code, then better to create different field status variant for each company code. Select enter, select copy all. So what we are doing within this field status variant, there are 46 groups that are available. Now, when I select the variant which we have created, field status group, you will get these many groups that are available. Based on the nature of the GL account, we will assign this group to the GL account. Okay,
But
now,
I did not understand. Like you said, the at the line item level, can you go back to the screen, the invoice, the yeah JB screen? So these are the line items, right? GL, D/C, amount in doc currency, assignment.
yes, yes,
So you were saying that like with the help of field status variant, we can see if we can make this mandatory or optional. Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yeah. So we are assigning GL accounts here, right? So
Okay, okay.
the group, this particular group, see,
Hmm.
this is the variant that we have created. This will be assigned to the company code. Then these groups are assigned to the GL accounts. Now within this group, if you double click on this general G001,
Okay,
you can see that you have general data, additional account assignments, and so on. Now, when you click on general data, you have these fields. You have text field, you have so many other fields available. I can suppress, I can make it as required, or I can change it to optional.
okay,
If I make it required, then that becomes mandatory for all the GL accounts which are assigned to this group.
okay,
Additional account assignment. Let's say whenever the GL account is picked based on this field status group, I
hmm,
can make maybe the business area as mandatory. Or if I want, I can make the cost center mandatory,
okay.
for all the maybe let's say the expense accounts. Okay. So
Hmm.
for all those accounts, I may have a different group. Most likely it is G004. So let me check. Oh, sorry, I forgot to save it. So let's say 1000. I'll copy again. 7010. Field status for 7010. Copy all. Select OK. Select save. Now it is again prompting me for a transport request. I'll save it in the same transport request. I've recognized that this is the description that I had created. Select OK. I'll go back to the same screen.
Initially I have been to it, but I was really confused, like how these field status variant work. So it's basically for particular GL group, you assign the field status variant, and then you like select accordingly with whether it for that particular GL group, whether it will be mandatory, what things will be mandatory, optional, or required, right?
Yes, yes. Now you
Okay.
can see G004 cost accounts. You can
Mm-hmm.
have this assigned to the expense accounts maybe. In that case, you and for those kind of GL accounts, you want to make the cost center mandatory. So what you will do is you will go to G004. You can go to additional account assignments.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and here cost center you can make it as required. So whenever I input a GL account here, or maybe any of the screens.
Mm-hmm.
In that case, the cost center field that is available here will become mandatory for me. I
Mandatory.
cannot surpass this.
Okay.
Yeah, come back. Now what we'll do is we will save this. So I already saved it. Now what we'll do is we'll assign it to the company code. Execute, select position 7010. Here I can assign 7010 and save. Same transport request, save. Now, transport request, one thing I want to add, are you aware of TOC?
DOC?
Yes,
Mm,
transport of copy.
no.
Okay. So let's say you want to move the transport request from development to quality.
Mm.
Ideally, what is the procedure?
I have I have never seen how the transport is moved. Like basically basis team moves that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what we do is either SE09.
Mhm.
From SE09, we give, if you're aware of the user that has created the transport request, you can give the user, you can
Mhm.
select the type of transport request. You might be aware of what is a customizing request, what is a workbench request, right?
Mm. Workbench request is the standard request.
That is the development request. Like if you have certain requests that are created for like the you might be working with ABAP consultants, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they may be writing certain programs, they are developing certain programs or something else. So those the transport requests which they save in, those are workbench transport requests.
Okay.
The configuration changes that we do for functional, this is the customizing request. This is the technical request, this is the functional request.
Okay. Okay.
Now you have transport of copy here. What is transport of copy? So you access the transport request through SE09, or you may have SE SE01 as well. You have multiple options from here. You can do the same thing here. You also have, if you have a transport request, you can just input a transport request here and select display. Or if you want to filter the transport request, you can select transports. Give the user ID if you have the user ID through which it was created. Select display. Now you have modifiable and release status here. So what it means is modifiable is the transport request which you can still access. You
Mhm.
can still save the data into. If it is released, release mean that is has been closed. That transport request cannot be used further. Okay. So what we ideally do is we select display.
We
Now this is the
sometimes get the query like when some ABAPer does the work and he gives us the TR to move, then we ask
Mhm.
basis team to move the TR. So sometimes
Yes.
the TR is not released. So that's when it is a
Yes.
modified uh like
Yes.
that's
So what
that's
we do is we have main task and subtask. And this is the main task. This is
hmm
the main transport request. Within this, you have a subtask. So within the subtask, all the configurations are saved. You can see if I click on plus, you can see field status variant. I can see company code, company code, assignment of company code, etc. So
hmm
all those are saved in this subtask. You can move. Maybe let's say if you want to have different subtasks within the same tier, you can have that as well. Depends on the situation and the criteria. Sometimes you may have to have different subtasks created, or sometimes the system itself will create a different subtask. Okay. Now, in order to perform the release, what we do is we release the subtask first. This is a subtask. We select the truck icon here, release directly, and it will release this TR. Then the main TR is then for the same option is selected, release directly again, and the
Okay.
status will change to release now. This is modifiable status. So when we select release for main sub and main task, the status here will change to modifiable. Let's say if you want to move it to quality system and you may want to use the transport requests again, based on the testing, maybe in the testing phase, we have identified some gaps, we may want to change something. Excuse me. So what we ideally do is we create a copy of it and move it to quality. There are certain programs that we do. Let's say for if it's a report, you have production data and quality, right? You have the data available up to certain date in quality. We do based on the DB refresh. Are you aware of DB refresh?
No.
So DB refresh is nothing but having the same refreshing the quality database.
Okay.
So you can, based on the requirement, maybe it's up to the client. Some clients they perform DB refresh every 3 months, quarterly, half yearly, or up to the requirement. Maybe the users or the functional consultants they need the production data into quality. So what we do is we take a backup of production data into quality. So you have the exact same data in quality up to certain date.
Okay.
So in that case, if I want to test some report or something, any configuration, I can just create a copy of this subtask, this particular task. I'll just change this option, quick cut and paste. So have you used this quick cut and paste?
No.
So here, I'm not able to select this line, right? How
Mm-hmm.
can I select this? I cannot
By
click and
control
drag.
Y.
Yeah, instead of control Y, what we can do is we can select this quick cut and paste. Now it will allow me
Okay.
to select this and it is automatically copied as well. Just if I click and drag, it will automatically copy.
Okay.
And if I press Control V or right click, it will copy.